Thank you all for being here today. The topic I want to explore with you is one that touches all of us, even if we don't always acknowledge it. It's the fear of being alone. We live in an era where we are constantly surrounded by people, whether physically or virtually. Our lives are filled with noise notifications from our phones, the chatter of social media, the opinions of others. We are in a state of perpetual connection, always engaging with others, always seeking validation from the outside world. But in the midst of all this noise, the thought of being alone can be daunting, even frightening. What do we think of when we hear the word alone? For many, it brings up images of loneliness, isolation, and sadness. It's a state that we're taught to avoid. From a young age, we are encouraged to socialize, to connect with others, to build networks and friendships. Society tells us that being with people is good, that it's a sign of success and happiness. If we're always surrounded by friends, if our social calendars are full, it must mean that we're living a good life, right? And if we're alone, it must mean something's wrong. But today, I want to challenge that notion. I want to suggest that being alone is not something to be afraid of, but rather something to be embraced. It's not a punishment, it's an opportunity. To understand this, we need to distinguish between being alone and being lonely. They're not the same thing, even though we often confuse them. Loneliness is feeling of sadness or discomfort because of a lack of connection with others. It's when you feel isolated even in the midst of a crowd, when you feel misunderstood or unseen. It's the painful feeling that something is missing, that you are disconnected from the world around you. But being alone is simply the state of being by yourself. It doesn't have to be negative. In fact, it can be incredibly positive if you know how to embrace it. Why are we so afraid of being alone? The fear often comes from within. When we're alone, we're left with our own thoughts, and that can be uncomfortable. We might have to face things we've been avoiding, regrets, insecurities, fears, the areas of our lives where we feel we've fallen short. Being alone means there's no one else to distract us, no external noise to drown out the voice inside our own minds. And that voice can sometimes be harsh. It can bring up uncomfortable truths, make us question the choices we've made, or highlight the parts of ourselves we're not proud of. It's much easier to keep busy, to surround ourselves with people, to fill every moment with activity than it is to sit quietly with ourselves. But avoiding solitude means missing out on a powerful opportunity for growth, healing, and self-discovery. Being alone is a gift. It is a chance to know yourself in a deeper way than is possible when you are always surrounded by others. When we're constantly engaging with people, we're often influenced by their opinions, expectations, and needs. We may lose sight of our own values, our own desires, our own voice. But in solitude, you have the freedom to explore who you truly are without any outside interference. You can reflect on your experiences, think about your future, and understand what truly matters to you. It's a time to reconnect with yourself, to figure out what brings you joy, what excites you, and what you want to achieve in life. Spending time alone also allows you to develop inner strength. When you are comfortable being alone, you become less dependent on others for your happiness. You realize that you don't need constant validation from the outside world. You start to understand that your worth isn't determined by how many friends you have or how busy your social calendar is. Instead, your value comes from within, from knowing who you are, from being at peace with yourself. This kind of self-assurance is incredibly powerful. It means that you are not constantly seeking approval or trying to fit into other people's expectations. You are free to live authentically, to make choices that align with your values, and to create a life that is meaningful to you. Solitude also fosters creativity. When we're alone, minds are free to wander, to dream, to imagine. We're not bound by the judgments or opinions of others, so we can think more freely, more creatively. Many great thinkers, artists, and writers have done their best work in solitude. Isaac Newton made some of his most significant discoveries while spending time alone. Virginia Woolf cherished the quiet of her study as a space to write. Albert Einstein valued solitude as a time to think deeply and explore new ideas. Being alone gives us the mental space to be innovative, to come up with new solutions, and to express ourselves solely. But beyond creativity, solitude offers something even more profound, the chance for self-care and inner peace. We live in a world that is constantly demanding more from us, more work, more achievements, more connections. It's easy to get caught up in the race, to forget to take care of ourselves, to neglect our mental and emotional well-being. When we take time to be alone, we are giving ourselves a gift. It's a chance to slow down, to breathe, to rest. It's a time to listen to our bodies, to our minds, to our hearts. In those quiet moments, we can find balance, we can recharge, we can find the strength to face the challenges that life throws at us. Learning to be comfortable with being alone also strengthens our relationships with others. When you know who you are, when you are content with your own company, you stop looking for others to fill a void. Instead, you approach relationships from a place of wholeness, not neediness. This leads to healthier, more balanced connections because you are not relying on someone else to make you happy. You are already happy on your own, and the people in your life simply add to that happiness rather than being the source of it. Being alone, then, is not a state of lack but a state of fullness. It's a time to rediscover yourself, to nurture your inner world, to find joy and contentment that comes from within. It's about creating a life that is rich and meaningful, not because of what you have or who you're with, but because of who you are. When you embrace solitude, you unlock a deeper sense of peace, fulfillment, and strength that no one can take away from you. So I encourage each of you to take the time to be alone. Don't be afraid of it. See it as a gift, an opportunity to connect with the most important person in your life, yourself. Spend time in nature, go for a walk, meditate, write in a journal, or simply sit quietly and listen to your own thoughts. It may be uncomfortable at first, but with time, you will find that it becomes a sanctuary, a place where you can find clarity, inspiration, and peace. Remember that the relationship you have with yourself sets the foundation for every other relationship in your life. When you learn to love your own company, you bring a sense of wholeness into all your interactions. So embrace the silence, embrace the stillness, and embrace the power of being alone. You may be surprised by what you discover. Thank you.